I don't mean to be so uptight, but my heart's been hurt a couple times by a couple guys that didn't treat me right. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't gonna lie.
Alexa, play Meant to Be.
Okay.
If it's meant to be, it'll be, it'll be. Baby, just let it be. If it's meant to be, it'll be.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get access to over 50 million songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
Let's get the party started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Source Material. It's episode 201. We're coming back at you this week with the same group that just hit you with our discussion last week on Harley Quinn's holiday special. If you didn't have a chance to tune in then, we'll introduce you to him again. Mark Radulich of the Radulich in Broadcasting Network, the very network you are listening to right now. Mark Radulich, how you doing this evening, sir?
Awake.
For now.
For now. I promise nothing going forward.
Then, coming back to the Source Material podcast, I tell you what, she's the girl who's nuts about corgi butts. I got it right because I wrote it down. Her name is Alexis Hejna. Alexis, how you doing this evening?
Doing very well. Glad to be back.
Yes, indeed. This evening, we are going to be stepping back into DC. We're talking a book that came out in 2009 and 2010, and it is Batwoman Elegy. Mark, I believe you threw this one on the schedule for a particular reason. So as per usual, I will ask you, sir, why are we doing this book this week?
We're doing it because it coincides with the Elseworlds Arrowverse crossover, where the big selling point, the big marketing point was this was going to be the backdoor pilot for Batwoman. So, as a matter of fact, as we're recording this tonight, is the Elseworlds episode where she debuts, and seemingly she's only in this episode. I don't think she's going to be in the third part. But since the Arrowverse was focusing somewhat on Batgirl, we figured we'd do a Batgirl episode, Batwoman episode.
I'm calling it now. This is not the first time we're going to make that mistake.
Smart. Yeah. Can I ask real quick about the Elseworlds series or the Elseworlds crossover that they're having? Is it just going to be the... Wait a second. Is Legends part of it? Now, how many parts is it? 3?
3 parts. It's
okay.
Now normally Supergirl airs Sundays, and then I think the Flash is Monday. Arrow is Monday, and the Flash is Tuesday. But for whatever reason, the way they wrote this, it started with the Flash on Sunday. Tonight was the Arrow episode, and tomorrow is Supergirl.
Okay. So are they like hopping in between dimensions? Is that what's going on here, or are they stuck in one?
Barry Allen and Oliver are on the same Earth. Kara Danvers and the whole, like Superman, Supergirl universe is Earth 38. But they've made it to where they can travel in between dimensions pretty easily. Okay.
All right. Well, it sounds exciting. I was down for the last crossover, which was that Crisis on Earth X?
On Earth X, yes.
I enjoyed that one.
Which was more Justice League than the Justice League.
That's right.
I hate to say, when I saw the advertisements for Crisis on Earth X, I actually got upset because so much of it was obviously homaging Crisis on Infinite Earths, which I have read several times. And I'm just like, just call it Crisis on Infinite Earths. Just call it that.
But unfortunately, that wasn't what the story was. The story was essentially...
But when you have a scene of one of the guys holding, Supergirl in the iconic pose...
Oh, yeah.
I guess it's just one of those, I know it's not, bit by bit the same storyline, but when you put in that much of an homage, you can't help but look and go, oh, come on.
I don't think they can do a Crisis on Infinite Earth story in the Arrowverse. There's too many characters, first of all, they haven't introduced. I mean, they're still dealing with the Batman went away from Gotham years ago and is still not back yet, which is the whole premise of having Batwoman. So, they don't have lanterns in this universe. They don't even have the super people on the same universe as Flash and Green Arrow. Again, whenever they need to borrow Supergirl, they have to borrow her from her own universe. So
Well, the Elseworlds did introduce the Monitor, so I'm actually predicting it, guys. I'm thinking within, I'm going to say 2 years. I'm saying within 2 years. It may not be exactly bit for bit with the exact same characters, but I do believe that within 2 years they're going to do a Crisis on Infinite Earth style storyline with the Anti-Monitor.
like I never really understood the purpose of putting Supergirl on Earth 38 when everybody else was on Earth 1. I would like to see them kind of do a Crisis storyline that ends with everybody on the same planet, because you figure with them all in disparate cities and dealing with their own stuff, can't they be all on the same Earth? If the answer is, well, why wouldn't Supergirl have helped stop the Enlightenment and things like that? Okay, well, you could ask that same question in the comic books. Why don't Superman and Supergirl stop all of why haven't they put an end to crime in Gotham?
Well, I was saying Marvel had answered that easily, but one of the characters in the 90s. No, seriously, it's like they need an excuse for why Captain Marvel didn't help out with the battle for New York and with Ultron.
You're talking about in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have clarified. No, seriously, it's like they need an excuse why Carol Danvers hadn't shown up to fight him. Like, her story was in the 90s. She's been in space.
Yep.
It works.
So hold on to your hats, because just as we're going down this rabbit hole, I'm gonna finish things out in our regards to our conversation about Crisis by heading over to the Wikipedia and reading to you the 25 titles from DC that include Crisis in them. Okay, crossovers.
Wait, me when you're done.
Flash of Two Worlds, which was one of the first Crisis. It was one of the first stories to introduce a multiverse. Then we have Crisis on Earth 1, Crisis on Earth 2, Crisis on Earth 3, Crisis on Earth A, Crisis between Earth 1 and Earth 2, Super Crisis that struck Earth 2, the negative Crisis on Earth 1, 2, Crisis on Earth X, Crisis in Eternity, Crisis on Earth S, Crisis in Tomorrow, Crisis in the 30th Century, Crisis in Triplicate, Crisis from Yesterday, Crisis from Tomorrow, Crisis from Earth 1, Crisis on New Genesis, Crisis Between Two Earths, Crisis on Apocalypse, Countdown to Crisis, Crisis in Limbo, Crisis on Earth Prime, Crisis in the Thunderbolt Dimension, Family Crisis, Crisis on Infinite Earths, Last Crisis on Earth 2, The Final Crisis, A Second Crisis, 0 Hour Crisis in Time, Crisis Times 5, Identity Crisis, Countdown to Infinite Crisis, and ladies and gentlemen, Final Crisis.
I need a break. I now have a nosebleed.
Teacher, is this going to be on the test?
I read a lot more than 25, because there was like sometimes there were 2 or 3 entries in one. But yeah, so Crisis on Earth X actually happened apparently prior to Crisis on Infinite Earths. I remember grabbing a few of these Crisis books, because what had happened is a few of the teams, if I remember correctly, the JSA and the JLA were, and this is stuff that'll get edited out if I'm completely wrong, because I'll have to double check. But I think the JSA and the JLA were on 2 different worlds at one time, 2 different parts of the multiverse.
All I know is that the FBI knew that the CIA was setting up the DAA.
Thanks for your contribution, Mark. You've been paying attention?
You don't say.
All right, back to Batwoman, because we have a discussion to have here about Batwoman Elegy. Batwoman Elegy is brought to us by Greg Rucka, who, Mark, we've talked about Greg Rucka before, I think, when he did a story for Wonder Woman.
Yep, he did a run on Wonder Woman that we talked about.
Yep, Hecate, I think, if I remember correctly, and it was an interesting, I think it was like a Greek-related story, and it was a good story. So we know he's definitely got some writing chops on him. The artist of this book is a guy by the name of J.H. Williams III. I've not heard of him, but just from what I could see, his art on this book is lauded. A lot of people really respect what he did here, and we'll talk about that. I know, Mark, you were impressed with it, and Alexis, you have a few things you'd like to say as well. So we'll kind of touch on that as well. But I can tell you right now, J.H. Williams III did a fine job bringing Rucka's ideas to the page. But what we'll do is the synopsis first. We're looking at issues 854 to 860. Like I said, this came out in 2009 to 2010. It was in Detective Comics. Now, if I read correctly at the time, this was happening shortly after Batman had disappeared. He was thought to have been dead. although he does show up in this first issue, if I remember correctly. So that kind of spins things on its ear a little bit from what I read. However, Batwoman has taken to the streets of Gotham and is dispensing her brand of justice, very similar to what we see from the Dark Knight himself. So, but yes, that's what's going on at the current time when we start these issues. So, real quick, before we get into the synopsis, I'll go ahead and ask you guys. Mark Radlich, we'll start with you first. Batwoman. I mean, do you remember reading anything with Batwoman in it?
Just because I read, so I've been all over the place with the amount of Batman that I've read, but there's an animated movie that stars Batwoman, and I think that's the first time I ever. Let me see if I can find it.
Was that the one in the Bruce Timmiverse?
Maybe Batman: Mystery of the Batwoman.
That's got one of my all-time favorite Batman moments when he's sneaking in the office. This huge hulking thug just walks and goes, "Who's there?" He sees Batman looking through a desk, and he just kind of stands up, doesn't say a word, turns around, walks out the office. And goes, "You see anything?" Goes, "Nope," and he just keeps walking. He's like, "I am not picking a fight here." I love that.
So that was the first time I'd seen her, and she was a Batman character that kind of was honored Batman, but was doing her own thing. She uses guns, and Batman was trying to mentor her, and there was only so much she would listen to him. This was different than Batgirl. Batgirl was kind of part of the trio of Batman, Robin, and Batgirl, where Batwoman was kind of like, look, I've taken your mantle, but I don't need to listen to you all the time. And then after that, like I said, I'd see her periodically in different storylines and comics of Batman that I read, but that's pretty much all I knew about her. I'd never read anything of her solo stuff.
Okay, Alexis?
My introduction to Batwoman, besides the same animated movie, was the few appearances she made in the Batman Incorporated comic series, which I read ages ago. And I hate to say that this sounds so stupid, but the thing that I remembered appealing to me first when I started reading about her was I remember looking at her design. She's got the crazy red hair behind the mask, and I thought that looked so bizarre. But then when you see her take it off, it's a wig, and I remember thinking, "Oh, we're doing an Adam West Batgirl homage," and I actually just started laughing about that because I thought that was clever, cute, and just kind of, at least it just made me laugh. And I don't know why, but that always stuck in my head. It's so weird.
Well, myself, I don't know if I've read much of anything prior to this series. I think if she was in 52, which I was telling Alexis before you got on here, Mark, I was reading 52, which kind of, it happens prior to this and sets up a few things, namely the relationship, if I remember correctly, between Batwoman and Renee Montoya, The Question. If anything, that may be the only thing that I recall reading that has this iteration of Batwoman in it. All right, well, let's talk about Batwoman Elegy. I'm gonna synopsis everything, and then we'll get into our favorite parts and what we thought of the characters, things like that. Our first three issues are the Elegy story proper. Batwoman is, like I said, dispensing her own brand of justice in Gotham and instills fear among those that do wrong, much like her hero, the Dark Knight, Batman. While attempting to bring down a group of covens, Kate Kane runs into a mysterious crazed leader by the name of Alice. Alice plans to acquire some deadly gas and deliver it across Gotham, killing 90% of the population. It is up to Kate, with the help of her dad and a group of, I just call them animorphs. I don't know what else. These guys that would change into some crazy-looking animal dudes, called the True Believers, to put an end to Alice's plan. When Kate faces off with Alice in midair on one of the planes, Batwoman is able to get the best of her, and as Alice hangs on to Kate's hand, she looks at her and says, "You have our father's eyes," and then falls to the earth. Well, that's the first three issues. Then our last four, 857 through 860 of Detective Comics, shaken from the first three issues, the next four tell the story of Kate's past. Growing up in a family where her mother and father were in the military, also sharing the house with her twin sister Beth. One day, as their father was away, their mother took the children to go out to eat when their car was ambushed and the trio was abducted. The next thing that Kate sees is her father removing the hood from her head, helping her escape, running past her mother and sister's dead body. Issue 859 focuses on Kate's military career being shortened due to the fact that her homosexuality was deemed a violation of the code of military justice, and her own code of honor and devotion to what the military stands for would not allow her to lie in order to avoid being discharged. Coming home, she finds love in a police officer by the name of Renee Montoya. And in a dark alleyway in Gotham, after being targeted by a mugger, she also finds a calling as she runs into the one and only Batman. Issue 860 shows Kate as she has taken up the vigilante's path and is still honing her skills and look. When her father discovers what she is doing, he is resistant to her choice. But when she explains that, inspired by Batman, her efforts are her way of serving the country, he agrees to help her. At the end of the issue, we fast forward to present day, where a few days after the fight with Alice, Kate has a lab expert compare her DNA with that of Alice's, and sure enough, the results show the samples are of twins. Alice is her twin sister, Beth Kane. So there you go. That is Batwoman Elegy, all 7 issues. Mark, we'll start with you, man. I mean, what'd you think of Batwoman here in this series? Was this something new to you? Did she feel brand new to you, or what'd you think?
I thought she was an interesting character. Certainly, I felt I enjoyed her origin story more than I enjoyed the first 3 issues of Elegy. Where, I mean, the best thing about the entire book is the artwork. The artwork is phenomenal. It's some of the best art I've seen since I started being a part of this show. This was not somebody drawing in crayon.
I love you, Sam Keith.
But really, really picturesque art, really, beautiful artwork. Like I said, the story where she's going after Alice, Jesus. Is if this is becoming a thing where if you're a villain in Gotham, you have to release gas of some sort. That's it's a bit of an overused plot line. However, I think the real meat of the story was her origin and how it tied back to Elegy. I don't remember if she threw her off the plane or if she just jumped off, but essentially, she unknowingly watches her sister fall to her death. And I just thought her origin story was a much more powerful tale. I legitimately felt bad when, they're doing the bit where she's, trying to serve her country. It's no easy task. It's not an easy thing to be a soldier. It's a thankless, selfless occupation to be a soldier, and she can't be because she's gay. I kind of hate that about this world that we live in. I hate that about, the military. I don't think it should matter. The bullet doesn't care who you're banging. So I don't know why we do, but we do. Yeah. And that's a podcast for another day. I like the story. There was a very sort of cinematic story, where you have this person who can't serve in the military because they're gay, and they go through this, finding themselves period, and she lands on vigilante. And I the fact that her father was there to help her, if you're gonna do this, then do it right, that kind of a thing. He gets why she's doing what she's doing. That she has to find a way to use this trauma that she experiences as a child when she was kidnapped. So I liked all of that. Again, I thought the second half was stronger than the first half. The first half was kind of a day in the life of Gotham. Oh look, a crazy person's launching gas.
I want to jump back to your comment about the art. I mean, do you have a specific panel or page that really sticks out to you that you can remember off the top of your head or anything like that?
Alice's death, but also the covers. There's a couple of covers that look like that look like posters you could hang on a wall.
Well, I was going to say Alex Ross had his hand in a couple of these, if I remember correctly, because they kind of give shouts out to the variant cover was done by Alex Ross. But yeah, J.H. Williams, I'm pretty certain, did the standard cover, if I remember correctly, on most of them. J.H. Williams III. One of the things that stuck out to me as well was the whole part where she's in the military, as you were talking about, where she's in the military and she's so honor bound to follow that code. I'm looking at it right now. It's like second page. She's walking by this little monument that says the Cadet Honor Code. A cadet will not lie, cheat, steal, or tolerate those who do. So Eddie Guerrero would never have made it here, but that's okay.
Waka waka.
That joke for one person on the podcast. But no, she believes in that. And when you believe in something like that, she still feels that she needs to serve her country in some way, even though her country won't let her. And I think that's a real shitty shame. Okay, so Alexis, what'd you think of Batwoman in this story?
Well, it is important to point out this book did start in 2009, and the Don't Ask, Don't Tell military policy wasn't repealed until September 2011.
Oh, okay.
So,
interesting fact.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about, that she can't be in the military because she's gay, and it's important to point out that is no longer the case.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things that really got to me about this book, style-wise, it sounds weird, but I am a former graphic designer. That's actually what I went to school for. And the layout for the panels in this book, it's amazing. The artwork itself is brilliant, but the way, in the very first issue, you have panels that are broken down into lightning bolts, then forming around a bat signal. And it's been my experience that when artists try to do something this complicated, it gets too busy, it just kind of bites them in the ass. But this looks incredible. And whoever designed the layout for this, I bow to them. It is so beautiful.
Yeah, I want to point out the difference between this and Wacky Raceland. Because Wacky Raceland is super busy and you don't understand anything that's going on. Like, this was very crisp, it was very clear, but it was busy. There was a lot happening on the page. I didn't have one of those moments where I did with Wacky Raceland, where it was like, I don't understand what's happening here. I'm I don't know what they're drawing. Another one where the art was crap and it lost me a lot of times, including the story itself, was the Living Weapon, Iron Fist.
Yep.
Other than turning into a building, that was also one where the art seemed to be all over the place. It didn't serve the story well at all. This, I thought, served the story well, and it was very pretty to look at.
I'm looking at the title, I guess what you'd call the title page for I think this is the second issue of Elegy. It's got panels, but the panels are kind of crooked. And then below that, she has like all of her equipment and her belt and everything laid out there. And then on the bottom, we have another 3 panels. But in the last panel, she's on a bike and her cape is kind of like coming across the rest of the panels. So stuff's bleeding into other things. But you're right. It still looks beautiful. It's easily separated. You could easily tell what's going on. You can easily follow it on the page.
I was going to say, I feel like the art changes, though, in the last 3 issues.
It does.
It's not as good.
Well, here's the thing.
The flashbacks take on a more retro classic form, and then when you get to more current state of affairs, and that's actually interesting, is that the retro or the flashbacks that are retro are very classic panels against white and black bars, easy rectangles. But when you get to what she's going through currently, then it goes crazy again with the layout design.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. J.H. Williams is the same artist on all 7 of these issues. So he purposely changed his style in order to tell a different type of a story in those few issues. And it's obvious that what he wanted to do was, just like Alexis was saying, hello there. Well, yeah, they had to make an appearance at some point.
You keep out of this. He does. You keep out of this. He doesn't. He doesn't have to shoot you now.
Thank you for your input, Eddie. That's my corgi. I'm sitting on the floor in front of my couch. He's lying on the couch right behind me, and apparently he just suddenly noticed, hey, Mom's right next to me, and she's not petting me. Mom,
pay attention. Pay attention to that poor doggy. So... but yeah, he goes back, and in order to tell a story that took place in the past, he takes a very classic style in order to kind of show that it feels kind of dated, and that's what it felt to me. I was like, man, this style feels kind of dated, but it's very, very interesting that he was able to switch those styles up himself. You don't see that too often with artists. They can do that, but they don't use it to their advantage, and I think he did a great job here when he did that. So
I'd actually like to see this more often. So often in comics, when you see a flashback, they purposely go sepia tone or faded colors, and that's fine. But I would actually like to see this more often with the layout design saying more simple and retro for the flashback, more fun and elaborate for current events.
Mm-hmm. Dan Phillips of IGN Comics noted in his review of the first issue, any discussion of Detective Comics 854 should start with Williams's art. Williams's work is absolutely stunning, and the issue is filled with the type of eye-popping double-page sequences that tempt you to carefully disassemble the book and hang the pages on your wall. Williams is a true visionary when it comes to designing a page, and this book includes arguably his most impressive design work yet. So I would 100% agree with that. It definitely makes the book, and the design of Batwoman, going back to Batwoman, just her design itself is interesting. You got the black and the red, and she's pale pasty white and red lipstick to match her costume and hair wig. She's designed interestingly enough as well to make her a pretty cool character.
Well, I was going to say, I think my favorite issue, strictly from the artistic standpoint, is actually the third issue, because there's 2 pages that I cannot stop looking at. One is when she's being attacked by, what did you call them, the Animorphs?
I called them the Animorphs. Isn't that a name of a cartoon, though? I swear
actually, oh my God, I'm showing my age here. That is the name of a young adult book series about a bunch of kids who, through the power of an alien, gain the ability to change into animals to fight an incoming invasion.
You are so right. That is where I'm pulling it from, because I remember them sitting on the shelves at the local library. That used to be the series I collected when I was a kid. That was my young adult guilty pleasure when I was in high school. Nice. Very nice.
But yeah, I love this layout in particular. She's lying in the middle. We've got these almost look like claw mark cutaways for the panels around the side. And it's bizarre, but she's got rainbow hair. It's kind of like a Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds from Runaways effect going on here, which I believe is symbolizing her poison. But it's so gorgeous, and I love it. But the other one that catches my attention is when she is, again, third issue. She's at the oh God, I missed it. The formal event. I missed I can't remember what that was for.
Some kind of like, I know what you're talking about. It's like a dance of some sort or something, right?
Yeah, I hate to say it. Again, I kind of skimmed through a little bit of the dialogue there, and I missed, like, wait, was this a charity event or like a policeman's ball or something? But there's this part where she's dancing, and you have music notes in the foreground that are actually cutaway windows. And again, that could have looked so terrible, so busy, but I cannot stop looking at it. It's gorgeous.
Mark, let's talk about Alice, buddy. What'd you think of our villainess here, Alice?
Off-brand Joker.
I can't disagree.
I thought the same thing.
Can't disagree. I had a hard time following her, and I think that's on purpose. Rucka's writing her as this crazed.
Yeah, she's kind of like if the Joker and the Mad Hatter were kind of just sewn together. That's what you'd get, and it's like, okay. Well, neither. The Joker is what he is, and the Mad Hatter, is a nice distraction. This story in Detective Comics, she had just taken over the book as the feature. And so I feel like they needed to establish Batwoman, so they gave her just like a stock cardboard cutout of a villain to deal with. And the only thing that makes it really even effective is the fact that you find out later on that she's her sister.
Yeah, she felt very like, okay, here she is, and yeah, she's crazy. Yeah, you want to know why, but we're not going to tell you. And she's dead. I mean, obviously, most likely she survived the fall. They search, they can't find Alice's body, but still, all throughout the issues, I've got these questions. It's like, how did she get this way? Why is she acting like? Why is she talking like this? Who is she? Why is she the leader of this coven? Whatever. And none of that gets answered. It's just strictly Batwoman versus Alice.
For the record, can someone explain the whole coven thing? I was saying,
Nope.
wait, so when I saw that, I was like, wait, are we talking like cults? Because I know criminal cults in the DC universe is not unheard of, but when they call it a coven,
I thought it was witches.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think of when I think of covens, and it's like, why are you calling it a coven of crime? But I don't know. It just sounds too hokey is the word I guess.
I'm worried. Okay, that whole part going into this, I just had to sit there and accept to myself, okay, she's been in the middle of this investigation trying to find these covens. If there was like 3 or 4 issues prior to this happening somewhere else, that wouldn't surprise me. But I was dropped in the middle of this. Now, if they just made all that up and threw her in at this, and they just expected us to take it, on its face, I don't know. I wanted to know more about what in the world was going on, but at the same time, I had to understand I was getting dropped into this story. I certainly wasn't at the beginning with Batwoman, so maybe I'm just in the middle of one of her investigations.
My impression of this was supposed to be, a fresh start for Detective Comics, and so anyone coming on to read this, why I don't understand why you would have been dropped into the middle of the story in the first place. I guess is where I was going with that. Like,
okay, like
this is supposed to be like a fresh start. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, here you go. I am on DCWikia.com. We have something called the Religion of Crime. All right. Well, the Religion of Crime, also known as the Dark Faith, which I think that pops up. Doesn't like the Animorphs guy talk about the Dark Faith?
The Religion of Crime, he does, yes.
Okay, all right. Is an old secret organization that follows the word of the crime Bible and its lessons of deceit, greed, lust, and murder. So there are about 3 to 4 paragraphs of some of the members of the Religion of Crime: Stanton T. Carlisle, Giselle Carlisle, Abigail Lincoln Gray, a.k.a. Mother Superior, Sinclair, who is the leader of the Gotham City branch called Coven. So, okay, of the Religion of Crime. So apparently the sects of this Religion of Crime are called the Covens. He was accosted by Batman in question and forced to reveal...
My family and I were looking for sex. Ah!
Paid in an auction of a crime Bible. Batwoman took him down at the auction, thereby hiding his participation in the event. Also known members: Isabella Cordoba, Nikki N. Taylor, and then we have Mistress Alice, briefly became the leader of the 13 Gotham Coven. So I'm assuming she's the leader of all of them put together, and tried to use the organization to kill everyone in Gotham City. She was stopped by the Batwoman. Hence, that's exactly what we're talking about tonight. But there you go. That's that kind of sheds a little bit of light on it. I'm coming into this going like, I don't know. All I know is that I imagine there's these bad groups out there in Gotham committing these crimes, but
the dam broke.
I had no idea about all this history in the Dark Faith, and I took that as it was. So Alice leading them, she had a peculiar look, she acted crazy, and I really didn't feel that much of a connection with her until, just like Mark said, when you find out, oh yeah, there's definitely a history here. There's definitely a history between her and Batwoman. And then things kind of pick up a little bit for me there, where I'm a little bit more invested into her relationship. But still, those first 3 issues, it's like, just like I said, oh, here she is, look out, and there's a fight, and there she goes. So,
I was going to say this as far as her look and her clothes and everything. I've seen Final Fantasy characters with less over-the-top outfits.
Yeah, she's definitely got a peculiar... Oh, man, some of the covers, which almost, if you look at the covers, they kind of allude to, the big reveal at the end of issue 3. Like the issue 2... And you would never know this until you got to the end of the issue. But the second issue of this, which I think was 857, you can see Batwoman, her head, and up to about her chest. And then below that is
Alice's outfit, yeah.
Yeah. So if, you don't know what's coming.
They do something similar in the beginning of the 4th issue. There's a 3-part tearaway in the front, or in the first page, that is basically Alice's face and Batwoman's face, but it's lined up like they're the exact same.
Yeah, see? Sneaky. They knew what was coming, and they were trying to drop those subtle little hints.
I also got to ask, how does someone keep a poisoned razor blade in their mouth without cutting them? Actually, that panel where you see the razor blade, it freaked me out because I didn't realize those were teeth. It was a zipper or something. I was like, what the hell am I looking at?
That's a wrestling thing. You guys need to get color for a match sometimes.
Blading profusely, I've heard.
But to your point, they keep a lot of them keep the razor in their mouth. I've often asked how do they manage to do that without swallowing the razor or cutting up the mouth, but apparently that's there's tricks to it.
Huh. You see, I was actually more familiar with the technique that we saw in the movie The Wrestler, where they hide the razor blades in the tape that's on the and stuff.
And some do. So there are 3 places typically that they hide tape. In their mouth, like underneath their lip, fingertips, or in their tape.
One of my favorite blading stories has got to be the Jeff Hardy Matt Hardy. It's in the Jeff Hardy or Matt Hardy, well, the Hardy Boys book, where one of the razor blades comes loose in their fingers and they're whipping people to the rope. And what they don't realize is that they're cutting these guys' arms up left and right as they're doing this. They look down and they, of course, it's a razor blade. It's almost like you don't feel it, especially if you got all that adrenaline going.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are looking down at their arms like, what the hell is going on? Until one of them finally realizes, oh shit, my gig's loose, or whatever they call it. At no time in my entire life am I ever going to put a razor blade in my damn mouth. Ever.
Especially if it's poisoned. I'd like to point that out. It wasn't just a razor blade. It was a poisoned razor blade.
Yes.
In our mouth.
A fork can barely accidentally hit my teeth without me like cringing. So, all right, a razor blade is not high up on the list of what I'm putting in that orifice.
What about laser beams?
Laser beams. All right. Any other thoughts about Alice there, Alexis?
I said my piece with the like I said, I don't know. The design of her design is just so over the top, and I don't know, maybe because I watch too much anime, but it just didn't look like something I thought we would see in maybe not the DC universe, but the Bat universe.
Depending on what iteration you see of like Poison Ivy, sometimes she's wearing a leotard covered in leaves. Sometimes she's just wearing leaves. I mean, Harley Quinn's running around. Either she's got a jumpsuit where, she looks like a clown, or, she's wearing a bustier, and it's just, I don't know. I think that there's a precedent set for the women in Gotham, the evil women in Gotham, to not always be wearing appropriate bank robbing gear. I was gonna say the Batman characters are very high on gimmick. They're not aliens like in a Superman comic, or Green Lantern. I mean, the Batman and the Flash are known for having very gimmicky villains.
True, but on that note, with her name Alice and with her dressed in white, I was expecting a lot more Alice in Wonderland references, which again, I know she's not Mad Hatter. She is not. Mm-hmm. She is not. Let's find an excuse to give Roddy McDowell a paycheck. I seriously, I'm sorry, but I really do believe they brought the Mad Hatter in as early as they did on the animated series because they had an option to work with Roddy McDowell, and they all said, "Hell yeah, bring in Roddy McDowell."
Oh yeah,
it was awesome.
There's no way.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Her outfit looks more like like a teenager trying too hard in a goth club. But and I get where you're coming from. It's like that's not really Alice from Alice in Wonderland. Alice wears a blue dress. And all of that. On the other hand, she's a villain. This is supposed to evoke a sense of fear, discomfort. If she looks too much like Alice, it's not gonna come across as creepy.
I guess I just live too much in the world that if we have a character in a fictional realm who purposely takes the name Alice, you gotta assume that it's Alice in Wonderland related.
Was there any other parts, Mark Radulich, that you felt stuck out to you in the book, made you like the book?
Like I said, I really liked the origin issues, and I thought the most, the reveal that the sister was Alice was a real tearjerker. Yeah, kind of heart-wrenching.
You knew shit was kind of going down when her dad looked at her just before she got on there and said, Beth. And I was like, oh, what's going on here?
The other really funny thing is
raise.
So when I initially picked this book, the trade paperback is 6 issues long. It's 854 to 860. The Wikipedia that talks about Batwoman Elegy is, says 854 to 860. So when it ends at 857, I'm like, wow, that's weird. What's the next 3 issues about? Like, oh, it all ties together. Okay.
Yeah. That's why I asked this, like, wait a second. It said end Elegy. I'm like, okay, am I supposed to keep going? But yeah, it does. It does a good job of doing that. Alexis, any other favorite parts about this book that you really enjoyed, that you haven't had a chance to mention?
Again, I think my favorite parts were the artwork and how interesting the experimental layout worked. So often when I read a comic that they try experimental layout, it turns into it basically becomes synonymous with the Silent Hill comic books, and I want to put daggers into my eyes. But no, this is a time where I look and go, they really took a chance with the layout and the artwork, and it paid off. So yeah. Honestly, anyone who's interested in comic artwork and comic layout as a profession, I highly recommend this book. Even if you're not a fan of the storyline, even if if you feel that it really doesn't answer questions on, yes, how is Alice her sister? How does that work? All that kind of stuff. It's still gorgeous to look at. And I really feel like if you really want to break into this field, this is a book you should look at for inspiration.
I think this brings our discussion about Batwoman Elegy to a close. Alexis, you are our guest. You get to go first here. Alexis, what do you have? Now, this airs 17th? Monday the 17th. So
awesome.
What would you like to plug?
Well, my company, Honeysuckle Rose Creations, intersection of geek and chic and makers of handmade geeky jewelry. We are right now doing a charity online raffle. We have a bunch of limited edition items that we're giving away as prizes. Among them, we have Harry Potter sorting hat earrings. We have the Deadpool Monopoly token charm bracelet. We have that one actually always makes me laugh because I had to fight my kid sister for those tokens. I finally was like, you can have the board and the game and everything, just I want the tokens. We have limited edition pin sets made out of our burgundy Scrabble tiles. And this is a raffle that's going to be going on till Christmas Eve. We're going to do the drawing on Christmas Day. And all profits are going to benefit Children's Mercy here in Kansas City. That is our local children's hospital. They've been a huge part of my life, of several of my friends' lives, and we're really happy to have a chance to give back to them. If you go to my Facebook page, again, that's Honeysuckle Rose Creations, or our Twitter feed, or our Instagram, you can find the link to purchase the tickets.
Very good. Very good. We'll definitely share that link out again there. So the listeners here, keep an eye out. Get in there and get in that raffle. That sounds like some great prizes. Mark Radulich, what do we have upcoming on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network?
I'm glad you asked.
He comes alive at plugs.
As this is airing tomorrow night, Pat Mullen will be joining me to talk TV party tonight for the Elseworlds crossover that we were discussing earlier. And then on the Metal Hammer of Doom, it's our annual Christmas show. It's Christmas time in Hollis, Queens. Jesse's cooking dinner in collard greens. This week is our Christmas show. We're looking at last year's Tarja album from Spirits. Oh gosh, what's the name of it? From Spirits and Ghosts. A score for a Dark Christmas. That is correct.
Sure.
Of which there's also a comic available, or at least it was at one time. Last week, Buttermilk Biscuits, y'all. Metal Church. Last week, we did our Christmas show here on Source Material. Alexis was there for that. We looked at the Harley Quinn Christmas special. On Tuesday, Sean and I did an entree for Jingle All the Way.
Did you add the put the cookie down music like I told you?
What? I didn't understand what you meant by that. I heard the line, who told you could eat my cookies, but what cookie music are you talking about?
There is a remix. Okay, that line that Arnold says, put that cookie down. That line, there is an actual remix.
I wonder if it's
using that one line. It is so funny.
It's not heavy metal, is it? Because I would love for it to be the Austrian
Death Machine.
Yeah,
no,
that would be great.
It's basic. It's just basic. It's like, put that cookie down. Put that cookie down. Put that cookie like that.
Okay, if you can find it for me, we will make use of it. And like I said, we did Metal Church. Damned Yankees. Damned if you do. On the Metal Hammer of Doom. And then we finished up the week with Castlevania Seasons 1 and 2 on TV Party. Next week, we'll be looking at The Others, Aquaman Volume 2 from the New 52. And then it's Christmas Day. There'll be no shows. And then on the 26th, we will have the dubious pleasure of reviewing Aquaman on the 26th after I have my visit to the Moffitt Cancer Center. So that's either going to be a really good show because I'll be really happy, or I'm going to be depressed. One of the two. I actually have to go for my 3-month CAT scan and visit, so we'll see how that goes.
Good luck, sir. Everybody's pulling for you here, man.
We are. Fingers crossed, thoughts and prayers, and all that jazz.
I appreciate it. So Alexis Hejna will come on to swoon over Jason Momoa. On Monday the 31st, New Year's Eve, we'll be dropping our Transformers Bumblebee prequel show. New Year's Day, we'll be reviewing said Bumblebee movie, Yum Yum Bumblebee Tuna. And then on January 2nd, it's here. here. It's finally here. It's the Metal Hammer of Doom year-end special. Jesse, what are we going to be doing on the year-end special?
Buddy, I think you're going to be bringing some tracks that you have not had the chance to play for everybody. I may be bringing some tracks doing the same thing. We'll talk about what we believe. We've been keeping track of all of our albums, at least on a spreadsheet format. I've been placing them. You've been grading them. And we'll kind of break that down as well. Who is the drizzling shits? Who is the top of the pack? It'll be a lot of fun. We'll look back at our year in metal. I think we put out a lot of content. We had a great time this year. It'll be a lot of fun to kind of look back and reflect on the year of 2018 for the Metal Hammer of Doom.
Nary a week was missed. And then on the 3rd of January, once again, Alexis Hejna, who just can't get enough. She just can't get enough of this Rattlegion Broadcasting Network. She's going to come on to talk about the love letter to the LGBTQ community that is She-Ra, Princess of Power, the new Netflix show. We're going to talk about that on January 3rd. You excited, Alexis?
I am. I actually as soon as I finished watching that, I put a poll out on my Facebook page saying, okay, calling it now. What is going to be the most popular cosplay from this show?
It's going to be people...
We'll discuss the results when we record.
It'll be people dressed up as She-Ra singing Baby It's Cold Outside.
I'm ready to get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Source Material Podcast. That's Alexis. That's Mark. I'm Jesse. We'll be talking to you next Monday. I cannot wait. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Good night, folks.
Thank you all for joining us. Make sure to give that Rattlich in Broadcasting Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts we have to offer. We are at home on Spreaker, but you can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and recently we have hit the air on Spotify. Find your favorite podcast platform and type in RADULICH to subscribe for some great content. If you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word. And as always, we appreciate any feedback and look forward to entertaining you again soon.
You gonna say?
I said I was going to start recording.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What were you gonna say?
Mark, I got to watch season 2 of Castlevania for Thursday.
What are you gonna say?
Oh my gosh. I swear I'm going to hit you upside the head, dude. Dad, can I have some bread? Bread and water, son. Get back to your bed.
They're all saying it's one of the best movies of the year.
I'm sure it is. There's no time for it on the schedule.
Oh, no time, Mark Rattlich.
And I still have a page of Dothraki insults saved on my Google Chrome.
The what? Dothraki insults?
It's from Game of Thrones.
Sounds like fucking Klingon. I had no idea.
It might as well be. What I'd like to see.
Oh, great. I'm making you yawn. Wonderful.
Shit.
Sorry.
Existence is making him yawn, okay? It's not...
Whether you remember it or not.
I was going to fucking say, when did that start? Apparently, Mark Rattlich has inside jokes that I'm not aware of, and I'm a part of them at the same time. Mark Rattlich experiment time, all right? Next time you feel like you're going to yawn, pinch the back of your hand really, really hard. And tell me if it makes your yawn go away.
No, I would prefer to ruin the content of the podcast. Thank you very much. I tell you how I wanted to punch my son in the kidneys tonight. Actually, I wanted to punch both my kids for different reasons. My daughter had the nerve to say that she didn't want to hear Dominic the Italian Christmas Donkey as we were decorating our Christmas tree tonight. And she's like, but it's embarrassing. And I'm like, you're at home with your family. Like, I understand she got embarrassed when they... Exactly, dog. And then Alexis
Wait a second. I'm celebrating Christmas, motherfucker. What the fuck do you think I'm going to do?
Yeah, it's Christmas Day, motherfuckers. Hardcore, rhymes galore.
Oh, for crying out loud. You know,
controversial. Because he would put the... No, that's horrible joke, Mark Rattlich.
I don't even know where you're going with this. Once again, are you having a stroke?
Good night, folks.
You gotta be so cold to make it in this world. Yeah, you're a natural, living your life cutthroat. You gotta be so cold. Yeah, you're a natural.
Alexa, play Imagine Dragons.
Okay.
'Cause you're a natural. I'm feeling hot as stone. You gotta be.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get access to over 50 million songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
I wanna feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, I wanna
Alexa, play Whitney Houston.
Okay.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get access to over 50 million songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.